So there are a lot of misconceptions about what you have to do to be a good negotiator. Do you have to be hardball, or do you have to, be mean or something like that? And the truth is, anyone can learn to be a great negotiator, and we're going to learn some of those things right now. The first question is, how much of a difference does it make when you negotiate a deal? Well, the truth is it makes a massive difference. I know people who would have gone in and paid $1 million for a property, and just by negotiating and asking, for instance, would you consider taking less, they've shaved $100,000 off the deal. And ask yourself this, how long would it take you to make $100,000 in your normal job after tax? And for most people, it's a year or two. So if you can get that same result by asking a few questions of the person you're negotiating with, it is totally worthwhile, and it is totally worthwhile learning how to negotiate. Many people think that a negotiation means you win something and the other party loses something, but it doesn't need to be that situation at all. Often it can be a pure win-win. If you give the other party what they want, they may be willing to give you what you want. For instance, using those numbers we just had before, $1 million, and I offered $900,000, you might say, why would the seller drop by $100,000? Well, let's imagine for a moment that they want possession or settlement or closing to take place in 3 months' time. You might say to them, listen, if you let me buy this for $900,000, then I'll let you stay there for another 4 months. They get what they want, and you get what you want. This is a perfect win-win situation. Rule number 2 has to do with personality. And you may think that negotiating is all about your ability to talk, but it has more to do with your personality. Number 1, are you sharp as a tack? If you are really on it, if people realize that you know what you're talking about, that puts you in a tremendously powerful situation. Number 2, are you enthusiastic? There is no substitute for enthusiasm. You know the difference between going into a room and someone is staring at you with a blank face versus someone who's got a bit of animation and who looks as though he's enjoying what he's doing. It makes the world of difference. And if you have those two qualities, then you will naturally come across as an expert in the field. And the more that you're an expert relative to the person you're negotiating with, the more that at some level they'll subconsciously think, this person knows more than I do, their numbers are probably more accurate, I will go with the flow because they are the ones who are going to make this deal succeed. There is no substitute for any of these things. The more you can display knowledge of the field, enthusiasm, and confidence in your numbers, the greater the chances that your number will win. Rule number 3 is you have to have more data than the other side. You see, knowledge is king really in this game, because the more data you have and the more justification you have for your numbers, the more compelling your argument is. If it's a commercial deal and you can say, listen, you're trying to sell this at a cap rate of 7%, but I know that market cap rates are 8%, therefore the price has to drop. And I also know that in this economy, cap rates are falling because the economy is improving. That's all knowledge that can put me in a very strong position to have the other side of the party, in my case the seller, say, you know what, that makes sense, because he's now wondering, if I don't agree with this reasoning, I may miss out on this offer, and there may be no other offer out there. So the more knowledge you have, the stronger you are, the better you are as a negotiator. Rule number 4, the first person to pitch a number usually loses. This is crucial to know. I do this all the time where, let's say I'm buying a property and I'm willing to pay $1 million for it. If I say to them, listen, I'm willing to pay $1 million for it, you can bet your bottom dollar that they'll never accept anything below $1 million. So I never am the first to name a figure. I'd say, listen, if you're really wanting to sell this, what's the lowest price that you'll accept? And you can imagine if they say, well, the lowest is $800,000, I'm already $200,000 ahead of where I would have been. Now, that's not to say they'll always pitch something below the number I was willing to offer, but even if they said 1.1, I'd know that, all right, they're willing to go that low. And then you carry on negotiating. You say, well, that's a bit expensive. What is truly the lowest number that you're willing to accept? And they might at that stage say, well, 1.05 or 1 million or 950. Whatever they say, you can still say, you know what, this is outside of my budget. I simply won't be buying at that. If you're willing to accept 925,000, we may have a deal. Leave a bit of margin open there. It's just negotiating. It's what you do, haggling on a street market somewhere on the side corner of a city. It doesn't matter where in the world it is, or whether you're negotiating a multi-million deal. The first person to name the number usually loses. try to avoid the temptation to stake that claim. Let them come up with a number first. By way of example, I once bought a funeral parlor or mortuary, and I was in the negotiation phase. I wanted to know whether my tenant wanted to sign up to become a tenant. Should I go ahead and buy the building? And he said, hang on a minute, not so fast, Dolf. I'll only do it if you give me a long-term lease. And I said, okay, but what sort of lease length do you want? Now, full disclosure, I would have been happy with 5 years, but I let him state the number first. I said, how long do you want? And he said, I'll only do it if you give me 10 years with a right of renewal for another 10 years. Effectively, it was a 20-year lease. Had I stated my figure first, the 5 years that I wanted, he might have thought, maybe I should do that, because then if I don't like it at the end of 5 years, I can opt out then. By letting him name the number first, I managed to get a longer lease than I think I otherwise would have gotten. Rule number 5 concerns the magic phrase that you should always utter whenever you buy a property. Every time you buy a piece of real estate, be it residential or commercial, you should always ask the seller, would you be willing to leave money in? In other words, are they willing to leave some seller finance in or vendor finance? Chances are they're going to say no. They're going to say, do you think I'm crazy? I'm selling this property because I need the money for something else. But you'll be surprised how often they'll think to themselves and say, I think I could. How much were you thinking? And every $100,000 that they leave in is $100,000 you don't have to get from the bank. At the beginning, I know I said I'd give you 5 negotiating tactics, but I'm going to give you 2 bonuses now. And bonus number 1 is rule 6, fall in love with the deal and not the property. It's the deal that should determine whether you want to negotiate this or not, and not whether you love the property itself. It is not a sufficiently good reason to say the house is so cute, or the neighbor's dog is really cute, or the neighbor, for that matter, is really cute. It doesn't come into the picture. Is it a good deal? Because the truth is, there are hundreds of deals out there, and if you don't complete this one, that's okay. There's another one tomorrow or the next day, and if you're really fast, you can look for one before lunch today. Keep on looking. Make sure the deal is good. That brings us to rule number 7, know when to walk away. It's related to what we discussed before, but if there's some reason why the deal is no good, if you discover something, even while negotiations are going your way and you think you're getting it for a great price, but you learn something else about the deal that is not so good, be prepared to walk away. In fact, being prepared to walk away puts you in a very good negotiating position, because usually the other party will pick up on that and they'll know that they better conform to some of your demands or else the deal is off the table. A willingness to walk away will mean there are more deals that meet your requirements. These 7 rules we've looked at on negotiations are important. They're not the only rules there are. There are probably 700 rules on negotiations, each equally valid, but I think we've covered some of the main ones. But here's another thought from Barbara Cochran. She's on the Shark Tank, and she says that negotiation is like dating. There's got to be some romance. If the guy gets the girl home on the first date, it's too easy and the relationship doesn't last. So if you can establish some rapport between you and the person you're negotiating with, the chances of having a successful negotiation go up. It doesn't mean that you have to pretend to be someone that you're not to have a successful negotiation. Remember, be enthusiastic. Know more than the other person. Be sharp as a tack. And then know what you want. Be ready to walk away. If you have those things under control, your chances of having a deal that puts a smile on your face goes through the roof. Guys, I've just shared with you 7 powerful techniques to negotiate a real estate deal. But what do you do once you've acquired it? Well, Chris Crone and I have just come out with this new edition of my book, 101 Ways to Massively Increase the Value of Your Real Estate Without Spending Much Money. Get your free copy right now by clicking on the link below. This book is full of ideas as what you can do to massively increase the value. They range in value or price from 39 cents, that's the cheapest one, to something like $40,000, and you can increase the value of the property by up to $2 million. It is full of ideas. You cannot read this book without thinking, dang, there are some ideas in here that I can apply to the house I'm living in right now. Thank you so much for watching. I'm super stoked to share this information with you. Real estate truly is my passion. And remember, if you want to learn more, click the link below to get your free copy of this book. And if you want to know whether residential or commercial is for you, check out this video here. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.